Welcome to Curious Confessions, where the line between reality and nightmare blurs. Before we unravel tonight's eerie encounter, it would mean a lot to me if you light up that like button and subscribe. Because in this place, curiosity isn't just encouraged, it's essential. Ready to uncover the next confession? Let's begin. My name doesn't matter, but my story might. I was once a lead engineer at a top-secret research facility buried deep beneath the ice of Antarctica. Our mission was simple in theory, but perilous in practice: to explore and harness the power of an ancient technology buried miles below the frozen surface. We sought to understand it, to use it for the benefit of humanity. But what we discovered was something that should never have been awakened. The project, known as Obsidian, a code name that, in hindsight, was more fitting than we could have ever realized, began with the discovery of a massive, perfectly preserved structure detected via satellite scans. This structure, buried under 4 miles of solid ice, was unlike anything on Earth. It was an impossibly smooth, obsidian-black pyramid that emitted faint electromagnetic pulses that seemed to hold the secrets of an unimaginable power. We didn't find it by chance. The world's greatest minds had been gathering data for years, piecing together ancient texts, myths, and legends that all seemed to converge on one point: Antarctica. There were whispers of an ancient civilization, long forgotten, that had possessed knowledge and technology far beyond anything we could comprehend. When the satellite scans revealed the pyramid, those whispers turned into an obsession. Every resource was diverted to uncovering the truth behind the structure. By December 2021, my team had been dispatched to the site with the most advanced drilling equipment known to man. We were isolated, cut off from the world, and our mission was classified at the highest levels of global security. Only a handful of people knew of our existence, and even fewer knew the true nature of our mission. The harsh Antarctic environment was unforgiving, but we were determined. We tunneled deeper, inching closer to the pyramid with each passing day. The pulses grew stronger as we descended, and soon our instruments began to behave erratically. Computers failed without explanation, compasses spun wildly, and our most advanced communication systems flickered and died. The closer we got, the more it felt as if the very laws of physics were bending, warping around the presence of the pyramid. On January 10th, 2022, we finally reached the pyramid's surface. It was a sight that defied reason. The surrounding ice had an unnatural, almost glossy sheen, as if it had been fused together by some incredible force. The air itself grew thick with static electricity, crackling and buzzing with an energy that made the hair on our necks stand on end. Every instinct screamed at us to turn back, to leave this place undisturbed, but we had come too far to stop. We set up our equipment, our minds torn between awe and dread, and prepared to enter the pyramid. The entrance was sealed with a door unlike anything we had ever seen. It was made from a material that defied all analysis. Neither metal nor stone, it absorbed all light, rendering it nearly invisible to the naked eye. We tried every method we could think of to breach it, from thermal drills to explosives, but nothing worked. It was as if the door existed in a state that was beyond our understanding. Finally, after days of frustration, the door seemed to react to the pulse of the pyramid itself, sliding open silently to reveal a dark passageway leading into the heart of the structure. The chamber we entered was vast, with walls lined with glyphs that emitted a dim, pulsating glow. The glyphs were unlike any language we had ever encountered, yet they seemed to carry a meaning that was just out of reach, teasing the edges of our consciousness. At the center of the room was a large, perfectly circular hole that descended into darkness. The air in the chamber was heavy, oppressive, as if the weight of eons pressed down on us. It was around this point that things began to spiral out of control. The glyphs on the walls began to pulse faster, their glow intensifying until it was almost blinding. The air grew thick, almost tangible, pressing down on us with a force that made it hard to breathe. We attempted to retreat, but the hole in the center of the room began to emit a low, thrumming noise, a sound that resonated deep within our bones, vibrating through the very core of our beings. As we watched, paralyzed with terror, something began to rise from the depths. It was a shape of pure void, darker than the darkest night, an absence of light and matter that seemed to consume everything around it. It was amorphous, constantly shifting, yet there was a terrifying sense of intelligence behind it, an ancient malevolence that had been waiting for this moment. The entity filled the room with an overwhelming presence, a crushing sense of despair and doom that threatened to obliterate our very sanity. The air warped and twisted around it, reality itself bending in its presence as the entity began to take a vaguely humanoid form. We were frozen, unable to move or speak, trapped in the grip of a terror that defied all reason. The only sound was the relentless hum, growing louder and more unbearable with each passing second, until it felt like our very skulls would shatter from the pressure. Then, in a voice that bypassed our ears and spoke directly into our minds, the entity said, "You have trespassed into the domain of the eternal void. You are the first to awaken us in eons, and for this, your world will suffer. We are the ones who came before, and we shall reclaim what was lost. You cannot stop what has begun." The words reverberated through our minds, leaving a trail of icy dread in their wake. The entity dissipated into the air, leaving us with a chilling coldness that seeped into our very souls, a coldness that no warmth could ever banish. We fled in blind panic, abandoning all our equipment and sealing the entrance behind us. But it was too late. The pyramid began to emit pulses of energy at an ever-increasing rate, each pulse sending shockwaves through the ice and the earth below. We realized with dawning horror that it was a beacon, a call to something far beyond our comprehension, something that was now stirring in response. Our retreat to the surface was a nightmare. The elevator that had taken us days to install now seemed like a coffin, its slow ascent punctuated by the groaning and creaking of the ice around us. When we finally emerged into the blinding white of the Antarctic day, it was with a sense of profound relief that quickly turned to despair. The sky was darkening, clouds swirling in unnatural patterns as the pulses from the pyramid continued to increase in frequency and intensity. The temperature dropped rapidly, plummeting to levels that even our thermal suits struggled to combat. Back at the facility, we initiated lockdown protocols. The base was designed to withstand the harshest conditions on Earth, but nothing could prepare us for what we had unleashed. Communication with the outside world was impossible. The pulses interfered with every frequency, cutting us off from the rest of humanity. We were alone, isolated in a frozen wasteland with a terror that defied all logic. Days passed in a blur of fear and confusion. My team members, one by one, began to succumb to the influence of the entity. It started with the dreams, nightmares that invaded our sleep, filled with visions of the void, of a world consumed by darkness and despair. Then came the voices, whispering insidious thoughts into our minds, eroding our will to resist. Some of my colleagues began to act strangely, their behavior erratic and unpredictable. They spoke of hearing the call, of feeling the pull of the pyramid, and before long, they would vanish into the snow, leaving no trace behind. I tried to keep us together, to maintain some semblance of order, but it was like trying to hold back an avalanche. The pulses grew stronger, and the base itself began to suffer. The walls creaked and groaned as the ice around us shifted. The temperature continued to drop, and the air grew thinner, as if the very atmosphere was being sucked away by the entity's presence. The power systems failed one by one, plunging us into darkness, and the backup generators struggled to keep up. The oppressive cold seeped into everything, turning the facility into a frozen tomb. I'm not sure when I realized I was the last one left. The days had bled into each other, time losing all meaning as the nightmare unfolded around me. I wandered the empty halls of the facility, my breath freezing in the air, my mind numb with exhaustion and terror. The silence was absolute, broken only by the distant, ever-present hum of the pyramid's pulses. I tried to send a final message, a warning to anyone who might receive it, but I knew it was futile. The entity's influence had already spread too far. As I write this, I can feel the cold creeping closer, an icy hand reaching out to claim me. The pyramid pulses with a steady rhythm, a heartbeat that echoes through the earth and the sky. The end is coming, not just for me, but for all of humanity. We have set something in motion that cannot be stopped, a chain reaction that will reverberate across the globe. The Obsidian Pyramid is a gateway, a door to a world of darkness and despair, and we have opened it. I don't know how much longer I have, but if this message somehow reaches you, heed my warning. Do not attempt to access the Obsidian Pyramid. Do not go near it. Know that the end we have set in motion cannot be undone. Whatever comes next is beyond our understanding, beyond our control. Pray that it's not too late. Pray that somehow we can survive what is coming. But deep down, I know that the prayers are in vain. The eternal void has awakened, and it will consume us all.